It is Friday, the gateway to the weekend, as we like to call it, and you can tell we're getting a little out of hand. But we're so excited to have joining us in studio now a lovely lady, author Alli Mang, who's going to be talking to us about her book, Your First Moment Earns You More Moments. Stand out in today's job market. Great to have you here.
It is such a pleasure, and thank you both for having me. I think it's an apropos subject, don't you think?
Big time.
Oh, definitely.
Golden handshakes happening towards the end of the year. Haven't we all been there?
Yes. Sadly, yes.
And unfortunately, they're timed at the most inopportune moments sometimes, right? Just that,
We've actually had quite a focus this week on employment.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because this tomorrow is the United Nations International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and we've been specifically talking as well about employment as it goes for the disabled community. But boy, good tips for getting a job are good across the board.
Well, and branding yourself too, Alli. That's really what it's come down to these days, isn't it?
It is. And, I do think that nowadays, whether you are an entrepreneur or not, you have to approach your work entrepreneurially. Mm-hmm. You have to be thinking always about, your reputation, what you're posting. You have to be careful about, as you said, the branding and what kind of reputation are you setting for yourself, even if you're young or you're a more seasoned veteran.
I like that, seasoned.
Don't you love that? Listen.
I like the word veteran there. Oh yes, indeed.
See, I'm catching all the good words.
Oh, my gosh.
But I will say, the thing that I start this book with is a quote from Mark Twain that says, the two most important days of your life are the day you were born and the day you find out why. And I do think...
Good. Yeah.
Isn't that... And because it's more than just job and employment. It's what makes you feel alive inside, because if we know that, then that's one of the differentiating Factors that makes us alive.
We spend so much of our time
indecisive, worrying,
yes,
trying to assess who we are, whether it's the kind of music, like that's why people have their brands of music, identity. Why am I here? And when you find that thing that I love this is what I want to do, this is me.
Yeah. Exactly. It does come from my years of auditioning in rooms, and whether it's 20 people or one guy behind a camera just not really caring and his girlfriend's reading the sides because she has a day off. You have to figure out what makes you come alive. What's the magic inside you? So I have all kinds of different exercises that really highlight your differentiating factors, and it gives you insight because the resume gets you in the door, but once you're in the door, that does not prepare you for the interview.
And you really need to, these days, more so even than in the past, when there's a job posting, there are so many people trying. The number of candidates is immense, so you do have to stand out.
You do. And the way you stand out is to be really pure and really honest about what makes you fabulous. And, I call it the magic inside you, because that's what's going to stick out. And I think it's really important for all of us, as we're going into interviews or whatever, make it obvious for the decision makers to say yes. So what are you going to do? How are you going to position yourself to get that answer?
They used to say, and I gather we're still talking the same kind of thing, give them no reason to not hire you.
There you go.
Make sure you
I love
are that person and they don't even look at anyone else. That's really what is learning your core, your best value, isn't it?
100%. And that applies to anything. I'll talk to a room of 500 people who are lawyers and doctors and all kinds of different genres, but the principles are the same, as we know. And you're absolutely right.
What about the changing it up, though? Because we all talk about people not maintaining a job if you have a job for 6-7 years, oh my goodness, you're lucky.
That's long term.
It is. So what about the changing, looking in new industries? What advice do you have for people in that situation?
It's a great question. And I think it goes back to, if you know your foundation, the core of your abilities, the core of what makes you different, stand out, and those are the soft qualities we're talking about. Are you a team player? Are you a leader? Do you work well with others? Are you a connector? Are you great at sales? Are you great at all those things? You really have to know those softer skills. And with that, then you can float in and out of different industries, because it's the same skills that just continue to get honed as you become more seasoned.
Yeah. Now, what about the situation that many face now? Just the actual structure of employment is different. There's a lot more contract, short-term, part-time. How do you stand out when you're faced with these piecemeal jobs?
It's a great question, and you're right. So many of us are doing smaller jobs. I think we're just having to adjust to that, and I think there's an urgency to it. I think the definite 1% of the population that really dig in and really, figure out what they need to get that job, past desperation. Because if you go into an interview and you smell of desperation, everybody can sense it. Wouldn't you agree?
That's true. It's like the sharks in the water.
It is.
They know.
They do. And you never come out at your best either. So I think where the contracts and the shorter term really plays a part is your social media platform, actually. I think it plays a huge part because a lot of employees now, and we know this, but if you think about it, I get this all the time. I've been following your social media platforms. I've been following what you're doing. And I'm thinking, why haven't you called in years? Because I've been doing this for years, right? But it's right place, right time. And you just have to keep it out. And I think, too, the focus of not being so much about what's in it for me, give me a job, but how can I benefit you?
Right.
How can I help you also achieve your goals as I want to? And I think that's a different bit of a quarter turn idea, that the more we have of that, the less indulgent we are, and we're open to more opportunities.
We were talking earlier in the week, a couple of times, we've had this subject come up pertaining our social media, the blending of personal and the social media, and especially whether you have a career mapped out where you're going or looking for work, the dangers of some of our social life behavior and the reflecting of Twitter or on Facebook and so on, because those employers are looking.
Yes, they are. I mean, I say in my last chapter, personal branding, your reputation is tied 100% to how you do what you do and what you tell us about yourself. And I do think that we have a great opportunity, going back to the title of my book, Your First Moment Earns You More Moments. We have a great opportunity to at least control that first moment we meet somebody, whether it's the handshake, whether it's the opening letter, whether it's that tweet that for the first time someone's seen you and, oh my gosh, I'm interested. This guy has a great sense of humor, or this guy has, a coy way of going about. Those are the things that make you stand out. Unfortunately, I know with the U.S., what's going on, we sort of see different things happening. But let's assume that we will continue on the genre of integrity and all of those good things, because I think obviously that's the lasting quality that will get us through.
I like the handshake. I like the fact that in that you mentioned handshake, your tweet, because you got that mix in what is traditional to give a firm handshake, give a honest grip. So really cool.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about the fact that your book is not only available in print form, as I see on the table here, but also in audiobook form. And I think that's such a cool thing.
Hear.
Yeah.
I tell you, we have a studio in our house, and we got to record it. It was one of the most exciting experiences, and I actually had a very good friend of mine who's a Toronto jazz musician, and he scored the entire book.
Oh, that's nice.
How about that?
All original music, and I just sort of said to him, his name is...
that.
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Did you enjoy the audiobook experience?
You know what I enjoy? Your energy on it, your feel. What people are hearing from you here in this studio is reflected in the book tremendously, and with that is a sincerity and belief. Because you wrote it, you believe it, and you can sell it that way. I think that's something people miss just reading that print book over there.
Thank you, by the way. I really appreciate that. I do think that we're all senses, and the audiobook to me is so great. You can put it in the car, put it on your iPad. I mean, I just love it. But Stu Harrison did all the original music, and I just said to him, Stu, can you kind of plug into West Wing for me? And he said, absolutely. So we've got some inspirational stuff, because this book is inspiring. When we're out of a job, it's not an easy time, and I know that we've all been there. You're dark, you're gray. So I want to help people say, have you considered that this day literally is preparing you for the next great opportunity that you can't even imagine? And I think that that's an important point to make, that it's not all bad. This could be the turning point for you. And I've got exercises. It's chock full of examples as well. So I'm just not the armchair advisor. I'm really helping you. And I've been there again and again. I've done over almost 1,000 auditions. I know that doesn't actually sound impressive because I haven't been working all the time, but my experience with having to show up and do the job, do the best job you can.
And be prepared.
And be prepared. Love it.
Yeah. It really is tremendous. So what made you, and again, I know people in the audience say, well, gee, an audiobook. Is that just the way it is now today? Make one, or did you have a reason, a particular reason that you wanted to make sure you reached that audience as well of people who prefer to enjoy a book that way or learn that way?
Great question. And I'm a runner, and it is how I listen to books. I'm sorry, that's how I run, because I can't listen to music.
Books that way.
I consume books because I'm a marathon runner, so I'm out there a very long time because I'm not fast. But I cross the same finish line as, everybody else. So who cares, right?
That's right.
Beautiful.
And so I love an audiobook. And my favorite audiobook of all time was oh my gosh, I can't think of it now. Anyway, they added music because it was sort of a commingling of musicianship. And I just thought, I have to make a book like this. Mm-hmm. And I really wanted to make an experience, because when we need to be inspired, I think, again, it goes back to our senses.
Yes,
it does.
We need to be fulfilled from every sense. And then it gives us hope and it gives us ideas. So if, we've got the word and we've got music and we've got our own imagination and pauses, it's just that's the prescription to really get you forward with, your next step. I think we all have to do that. We all have to stay in that. Can't be back in our heels. We have to be ready, like the tennis player receiving the serve, ready to go. And this book gives you tons and tons and tons of real tools, actionable tools that will help you immediately.
Yeah. Now, before we run out of time, I also wanted to touch on the fact that you're the director of the Alli Mang Foundation. Can you tell us a little about that?
Very quickly, yes. So my sister took her own life 10 years ago in June. And, it took me 10 years to kind of figure out what that whole experience was. She was very sick with bipolar and all of that. And she did so well. But I decided after 10 years that I need to stand up and find a way to honor her life. She was a wonderful mother. She was a wonderful person, but she had a disease that she just couldn't get, she managed as best she could. Mm-hmm. So this foundation, we have live performance. We just had our first show called Here's to Life at Lula Lounge in Toronto. We raised funds and awareness to help folks suffering with mental illness, but also help adolescents suffering from the suicide and that whole kind of world. There's a huge movement on suicide prevention with adolescents, and it's now the 5th highest rate of adolescent death.
Isn't that sad?
It's very
Incredibly
sad. So we're trying to raise funds and awareness to really just help people.
You're doing some great work. You're doing some great work on all fronts. And
of course,
want to mention the book again. Where can people find it?
Amazon.ca. You can also go to my website, allimang.com, and I've got a click right there, and it'll take you right to Amazon.com, and maybe .ca, I guess, in Canada, but in the States it's .com. But and I'm happy. Please, if you have questions, I would love to hear from you.
We'd love to have you back again too, just to hang out, come and visit, and that's always a good time because you can't beat that energy, that personality.
Well, it is my pleasure, and you guys set the tone, and you're fantastic. Thank you.
Oh,
what an honor to be here.
Oh, you're coming back.
Yeah,
we like you.
Yeah, I think that's a given now. Oh, yeah. You can even say that. Matt, lift that clip there. We'll use that.
We're keeping that.
Matt, for sure. I'll sign whatever. Go for it.
Oh, that's Alli Mang, and she is the author of the book, Your First Moment Earns You More Moments. Stand out in today's job market.